Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage we are putting a exhaust system, a sports performance exhaust system onto Purdy, my Jaguar XK8 1996 convertible sport. Now, just for full disclosure, I'm going to break this video into probably 4 different parts. Today, what I'm going to do is unbox the system I've got, share with you what I've got and why I've got it. And I'm also going to share with you some of the sound recordings I've made of the standard system under different circumstances. I've also done some sound level recordings. And this is all basically our baseline, where we're starting from, and enable us to look back afterwards on what's changed. Okay, so I guess the first question to address is, what have I got and why have I gone for it? So I've gone for the Adamesh, which is a brand name, Adamesh Stage 1 and 2 system, which is an exhaust that leaves the catalytic converters in place, which are here vertically, the centre box in place, which is here in the middle of the car, and then replaces 4 boxes with straight through piping in stainless steel. Why have I gone for that one? Well, I had an Adamesh system previously and loved it. And I did, for Purdy, look into other exhausts. Now, there isn't a leak or a problem that means I need to change the exhaust. I'm doing this because I want to. And the main reason I want to is for the sound. I'm one of the guys who's of the opinion that this car is way too quiet. If you want the ultimate in stealth power and performance and refinement, you're not going to go far better than a standard Jaguar system. They are really good at muffling the sound levels. They do still leave a satisfying, if incredibly quiet, background note, and they last really well. My car is now 25 years old and is still running the standard exhaust system. So if that's what you want, stick with what you got or replace it with the equivalent. I'm changing this for a really nice sporting exhaust note. I'm no hooligan. I've never put a fart cannon on the back of a car for looks and effect and just to make a rasp. But I think these cars really do deserve to show off their V8 rumble. Plus, I think that the AJ V8s really do have a very distinct sound that's unique. And I'll stand by, I think it's the best V8 sound in the world. Lots will disagree, and that's absolutely fine. Each their own, guys. So I want to bring out the sound. I very nearly bought a couple of other systems, and one I was actually in the throes of doing the deal, so to speak, when I realised that the company was not trading in its normal fashion and decided to draw a line under it. Why did I look at those systems? One of them, because it was what I've just described with a brand new stainless centre box as well. And I did look at a couple of other systems that used an X pipe instead of an X box, which is what this car has, a long silencer in the middle with a link inside it. And at the end of the day, long story short, I decided that I was just looking at others to be different, to have tried something different. I've already installed an Adamesh Stage 1 and an Adamesh Stage 1 and 2 on previous vehicles and be completely happy with it. And so I've decided to go for the same because I know it works. I know that the quality is there. I know that the price is excellent. So I stopped fishing around it for being different. I've bought a lot of Adamesh stuff in the past. I bought some for myself for Christmas this year. Some of you will have seen videos on the instrument rings that I put on Purdy quite recently. I put the side louves on blue outside quite recently, and I've had a lot of stuff in the past. And I've always been impressed that stuff turns up quickly. If you've got a problem, you can call them. So, onto it, what have I got in my box? Genuinely not taking this out of the box. Not because I wanted to surprise me, because I haven't had the space around me and I knew if I got it out, I'd start playing with it. So other than pulling the top off to make sure that what was supposed to be there is there, it's literally just been picked up and popped back down. So if you order a stage 1, stage 2, this is how it's going to come. And let's pull out the bits and pieces and have a look. This is not light, but wait till you take off the old system. So, BEEFY. Some nice choice of labelling there. I mean, that was on my previous one, so things have moved on. UK driver's side. Oh, big heavy bag. Okay, can go down there. Woo. And in the bottom of this box, come on, gravity, more brackets. I don't know what that is, that'll be tailpipes. More brackets, and I think that's probably it. Okie dokie. So if I was buying a stage 1 exhaust system, what would I be receiving? I'd be getting these 2 pipes, which are your tail pipes, and they replace the back box on either side of your car. I'd be getting, unwrap these, a set of tail trims. I'd be getting the clamps that hold the exhaust system together to the next piece further underneath the car, and I'll be getting a pair of hanger brackets. There we go. So let's have a look at these, how they go together, how they work. This is UK driver's side. It is really nice piece of stainless steel tubing. It's solid fit at that end, so no splits. That's the tailpipe, that's where it comes out the back of your car. It's got a couple of kink and curves in it that start to show off the quality. And that's because this is obviously been mandrel bent. And what that means, for those of you unfamiliar, is that the machine that bent this didn't just bend it, boom, 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 or it wasn't just wrapped around a former, because if it did that, the pipe would try and collapse and get narrow, or you'd leave a series of heavy creases in the inside edge, or this edge would look rather flat. This has been mandrel bent, which means there's been like a sphere, more often it's a chain of spheres, inside this tube, pushed just to the right point every time it's had a minute bend put into it. And that means that it's fully supported and stays completely round for the entire curve. You look at a lot of exhaust systems, even some OE ones, and you'll see the telltale kinks and flattening that says it's not been mandrel bent. That adds a lot of cost to doing this. It's very cheap to get pipe bent, mandrel bent, not so. You can also see all of these little serrations about, I was going to guess, 1.5 millimeters apart. And those serrations are where the machine is clamped each time where it's done another bit of bend on this tube. And the fact that they're only 1.5 millimeters apart is a real indication of quality. What it means is it's done a bend, pulled 1.5 millimeters, done a bend, pulled 1.5 millimeters, so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. Which again takes a bit of time, takes programming, and just is a really good indicator that this is nice quality stuff. And this is split so that you can put on a clamp. They're the clamps in question, right size, 58s. They are not stainless steel. They are what looks like a bit of zinc coated steel. So could be improved, but certainly not a disaster zone. You might, if you're really picky, want to change those up for stainless steel clamps, but they'll be more than adequate for me. This is what you're going to use to support the tailpipe, and this is going to be clamped along the tailpipe like so, and it'll hook in to an existing Jaguar rubber mounting. When you're ordering these, if you're going to order a stage 1 for your car, then you need to be aware that there are two different sorts of exhaust hanger on our XK8s or X100s. Earlier cars, up till about 2000s, mid-2000s, tend to have this clamp or this bracket. So what's going on here is it's going to hook in to a hole in the rubber that is at 90 degrees to the length of the car, so it's sideways. Later cars don't have the same hanger. Later cars have a hanger that would need that hook to face like that and go that way. So you need to make sure you get the right clamps. Again, I'll put a little graphic or a link in the description below that tells you maybe the VIN numbers that you need to look at to see which of these is going to be right for you. But again, why not just speak to the nice people at Adamesh if you're going to be buying from them, and they can advise you on the right clamps. These are very sexy bits. So this is the tailpipe, the actual trim that you can see on the back of the car. And you have a choice of two different styles when you're buying a stage 1. And that is large ovals, which I've gone for, or twins. So if you put twins on, you're going to have 4 exhaust pipes, or it's going to look like you've got 4 exhaust pipes on the back of the car. And they're really smart, very elegant, done very well as well, because it's not just 2 tailpipes side by side. They're staggered, one's longer, one's shorter. The angle that they approach the back of the car is just right for the bodywork, all the rest of it. So really well done. I've gone for the ovals because that's what I had before and I thought they looked amazing. And the reason they look so good is these have been made the right size to match the cutout in the bodywork at the back of the car. So your standard rear bumper has got a curve for the exhaust to come out of. And at the moment, you've got those pea shooters on, as we'd call them, the standard exhausts. And you've got a roundish, it is oval, a roundish pipe, but it doesn't really match the shape. That shape matches really well with the bodywork on the back of your vehicle. So, beautifully polished, nicely welded. Those of you who like welding pictures. Piece of stainless steel. So the approximate layout of this thing is this is laid side on now. So the wheel is here, on your rear wheel of your car would be here. This comes down from above the axle, underneath the boot floor, bracket going into a rubber mount here, and the tailpipe firing through the gap in the rear bumper. It really does look nice, doesn't it? I love it when things are nicely made. Just to give you a really early impression of what I'm talking about here, this is the standard, the pea shooter, and from this angle it looks sort of okay because you don't know any better yet. You come down to a lower position, so I'm now level with it. You can see this cutout. Let's just bring this into position. Can you see the curve? Now you can see why that's called a pea shooter, because it's just the wrong size once you see something that's built for the job for the outlet in the rear bumper. So I'm going to turn this around the wrong way just to show how it fits with the curve. And that's why I've gone for the singles. I mean, obviously twins look great, but you're putting twin pipes which fit beautifully inside this shape. And for me, this shape is intended for an oval. But if you prefer the twins, go for it. They'll still look amazing. And as I say, the pipes are staggered. So the outer one, if I look down, the outer tailpipe is shorter. The inner tailpipe is longer, and their slash is sort of in line with this. So again, beautifully done. Really nice stuff. If you want to get the stage 2 part of your exhaust, this is the bit that adds a little more sound, but also adds some genuine horsepower because of restrictions. And that is, we're leaving this centre box in place. It feeds both sides of the car. It's got 2 pipes running through it. It's very effective, and that's stopping. But this pipe, we're going to disconnect there. We're going to take out this piece. We're going to take out this, which is another resonator. Again, we'll not get into the details of what's called what, why, but this has got some degree of restrictiveness about it. And then we're taking out the pipe work that goes over here down to this pipe. And this is where it's really important. This piece of the pipe is massively restricted on all standard cars. And it doesn't matter if you've got an XK8 or an XKR, it's the same. It doesn't matter what year, it's the same. And it was just to aid production, being able to fit these things on the line easily, quickly, and in long sections, because our aftermarket system's in a lot smaller chunks. They squashed the pipe down to about 50% of its natural size. So you've got this heavy restrictor just here. And all sorts of people will tell you all sorts of numbers about what that is worth in terms of horsepower. I'm not here to make promises or suggest that something will or won't happen. But I'll tell you that the most popular number that people give is 20 horsepower. Some will say more, some will say less, that this is associated with. Don't get me wrong, 20 horsepower on a 300 horsepower car is not the end of the world, but it's worth having. And it's also 20 horsepower that can drive you along the road and therefore you don't have to drive quite so hard to get the same results, better fuel economy. So we've got our big bag. And we'll just get one half out, because obviously there's two systems, one for each side. Whoop. There we go. And it's going to go that way. That is our stage 2 element. Don't hold me to the orientation, because obviously it's hard to show in this plane anyway. That pipe is actually going to be going towards the middle of the car, because the pipes come out of the centre box and sort of splay out in a Y. And there's a hanger here that is hopefully in place in your car, but you can just hook that into, and obviously it hooks up to the stage 1. So this is the bit that's going to give you horsepower gains, and deletes yet another of the silencers. So if you include the catalytic converters as silencers, and I certainly do, because if you've ever heard a car that's been decatted, you'll know they are massively effective as silencers. Then this car has 2 at the front, 1 in the middle, and 4 at the back. So that's 7 boxes. Resonators, silencers, mufflers, 7 of them. Each bank of your engine is effectively firing through 5 each. The centre box is shared, so they've each got their own catalytic converter. After this conversion to stage 1 and 2 with the Adamesh system, each bank will run through 2 silencers. 1 is the catalytic converter, 2 is the big one in the middle of the car, and then the rest of it is free-flowing pipework straight to the back. Again, the clamps are not stainless steel. I'm not holding out against Adamesh at all, because it's unconventional to see stainless steel exhaust clamps unless they're really high-end sort of strap and bobbin style, but that's something you could swap out if you wanted. Again, nice attention to detail. These aren't just randoms. That's a 58mm clamp. That'll be good for here. That's a 60, whoop, let's get the reflections right. There we go. That's a 60mm clamp. That'll be good for here, because this is larger diameter to go over this pipe. And the back clamps, as we saw earlier, that are going to link that up, are 57. So actually it's all been thought out properly. Again, it's that sort of attention to the details that means this is a really good value for money kit. I'm damn sure you can buy higher end stuff and you'll have super duper clamps, and maybe the bottom of the exhaust hanger might be ground off a little flatter and all the rest of it, but you're going to pay hundreds of pounds extra. This is exactly what most people who want to work on their own car want. Good quality stuff that fits, and if it didn't, you knew you could ring up. The only other thing I've got myself to do this job, this doesn't come with the Adamesh stuff, is some exhaust assembly paste. You can get away without it, but why risk it, I think. So there's assembly paste and there's repair paste. Get assembly paste if you're going to get something. Fire gum I got because it's a brand name that I'm familiar with, stuff I've used before. In fact, if I go into my bottom drawer, which is all full of all sorts of stuff, I've got a little bit of Bosel, got a little bit of fire gum. And I do have a repair paste as well. But yeah, so it's stuff I've used before, basically. It's a brand that I'm familiar with. So I got myself a couple of those. They're not overly expensive. And I would recommend that you get some assembly paste. All you're going to do is wipe it around the joints before you slide them together. And as the exhaust heats up for the first time, it expands just a little bit. You might get a little bit of stuff that emerges and spreads out the joint that you want to knock off. Not the end of the world if you just left it alone. But it just means you do it once and it's going to seal. If you don't use assembly paste, I find that you're forever tweaking and adjusting, just chasing that last little, tiny leak. So get yourself some of that. Whilst we're in the garage, I'll just wave these. Yay! And say, thank you very much, Gary. You're a beaut. So got these from one of our fellow YouTubers, Gary, who's got Jaguar 1. If you haven't seen his channel, please check it out. It's excellent. He's doing a lot of work, not only on friends and neighbours' vehicles, which is really fascinating to me as a Brit seeing American stuff, but he's rebuilding his Mark II Jag and doing fine work. I can't believe your woodwork got rained on in Arizona. But was kind enough to send me these over for blue, and they're steering joints. Thank you very much. They've turned up now. Thank you, Gary. The end of this video is basically some sound recordings for your pleasure. So I've got various recordings of the car with an interior mic and with an exterior mic doing various things, so that we've got our baseline of how the car sounds right now. I've done all of them with a Rode Micro Mini wireless microphone with the sound muffler on, the wind catcher, or dead cat, proper name. So all of those tests include this particular microphone. You may find that the level of the recording is slightly less than you're used to from my channel, although I'm always getting complaints about volumes. And that's because I didn't want to adjust anything so that I can repeat everything in exactly the same way. So this is set to its middle sensitivity. I've not boosted the sound in editing. It's exactly as it was recorded with everything set to vanilla. Also, I've done some dB levels or sound level recordings. Now, I don't have a calibrated sound meter. All I have, it feels like it works for me, is an app. I'll put a link if anybody is interested in getting the same one, but it's just called DB Meter, and the icon is there if anybody wants to see that, if you can see it focus wise. And I know I'm going to get loads of questions about this, so I want to head some of them off right now. There is no standard I'm going to relate to you as British cars must not be louder than X. It's too difficult to interpret. Ask 6 policemen and you're going to get different answers to I'll look it up. The cars are not checked in the UK specifically for the sound level. Our only annual test is the MOT, and the MOT stations are required to record if your car, and I mean record as in write down, if your car is louder than anticipated. And so you'll sometimes get an advisory saying loud exhaust. But that's covering their backs. As soon as they see something non-standard, they're going to write the words loud exhaust so that I recorded it. You'll see numbers bandied around, anything between 78 decibels to 100 decibels as what is supposedly a good sound level. I'm not going to get into the whys and wherefores. I tried to research it for you. It's just not my bag. We'll leave that to somebody else who can look it all up on YouTube and give us a great video on sound levels. But I've recorded mine. using that at half a metre away, exhaust height 45 degrees to the projection of the exhaust, and using a pretty standard test, which is take the engine to 3,750 RPM and then allow to decay naturally, i.e. take your foot off. The idea of that is some cars pop, whistle, bang, wastegates. It'll catch those vehicles with the extraordinarily loud backfires if you take your foot off from those sorts of revs. So I've done that test. I've also done the same test 45 degrees at 5 meters, because I've seen quite a few specs from other countries that indicate 5 meters seems to be what they go for. So I can't tell you if good, bad or indifferent. What I can tell you is what this car's doing now, and we'll repeat the exercise with the new exhaust system fitted so you can just see and compare and contrast and make your own minds up as what's good, what's bad. So before I leave you with just sounds of Purdy, to enjoy or turn off as your leisure, I said that this is going to be the exhaust saga, and I'm going to break this into several steps. Part of the reason for doing that is I'm still a little bit under the weather. Not got COVID, by the way, it's just something else. A little bit under the weather. The weather is appalling, and I just haven't had the incentive to get out here too much and jack the car up. I just wanted you to know it was on the journey. So today was all about what I've got and the standards. So what are the sound levels like right now? The next video will be the removal of the existing exhaust that is on Purdy. And obviously I'm going to give you some shots from underneath. We're going to look at the difficulties or not of removing the exhaust. We're also going to do another little bit of before and after. I'm going to weigh everything that comes off. I have a theory that it's a very significant weight saving by switching over to the Adamesh system. Obviously there is, because there's no boxes, but I think it's going to be quite significant. We'll do another video on installing the new system and all the hints and tips to make that work and go well. And then we'll have a final video, which will be the testing. And everything that you're going to watch right now, if you decide to carry on and watch the rest of the video, are little repeatable elements that we can do the exact same test with the car, with the new system. And obviously I'll do those sort of back to back. Here's test A before, test A after. So I'm going to leave it there and say thank you to everybody who's watching the channel. I'm overwhelmed with the numbers of subscribers. We're getting up there, approaching 10,000 subscribers. I've got a couple of ideas of what I can do to mark that occasion. So looking forward to that. Lots of great content coming out, things being filmed in the background, little projects underway that you don't know about yet. Subscribe, give us the comments, and we'll see you all very soon on to the garage. Cold start, standard exhaust, 1 metre away. Okay, so here we are now inside the fully warmed up car with the standard exhaust on. Sound meter app running on the centre console. Position it so the light isn't in your way. So I'm going to just reset it and run through the test. Obviously there'll be no speaking. So we're picking the revs up until 3750 and then letting them decay. And finally, I'm going to get a reading at steady 50, windows up, cruising on a dry road. And the answer was a max of 72 at 50 miles an hour. I'll guarantee that a lot of that is the wind noise rather than any engine noise. Then on the first dry day for ages, I set off into the Lincolnshire countryside, even though, look at the state of the roads, to find a safe spot to do some repeatable sound checks outdoors. So these are some moving tests. In these next checks, because the microphone's on the outside of the car, check out my British Standard Automotive Sign Language, not really, to myself to remind me of what I was doing. Okay, you're now on a lapel mic inside the car. We're convertible, remember, so slightly noisier than a coupe. And we have the standard exhaust system. So let's do a gentle accelerate away. Steady 30. This is 50. And here is full bore automatic acceleration to 60 in sport mode. There's 60. And a little bit of J-gate action. Now I'm going to give you sport off, 70 mile an hour, to show what it's like on a dual carriageway or motorway. Standard exhaust. And that's 70 miles an hour. Motorway cruising speed. Exhaust is pretty much inaudible, but the wind noise starts to pick up just a little at 70. And you can hear some road roar from the Pirelli P0s.